It feels so good to be back. Welcome back to Young Mustard. I'm here with my NBA commentary, and I thought I would do something a little bit classic by bringing back my versus series for one night only and doing Bam versus Karl-Anthony Towns, two players that have been some of the best bigs in the NBA, and over the last couple of years of their career have really helped develop the modern day five in the NBA. And for players that are not even close to their year 10 yet, that really says a lot for where they're at this stage in their careers. But before we go any further with this video, make sure you guys drop a like to show some support to this video if you enjoyed it, and do not forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new. Press that bell for post notifications as well to stay up to date with the latest content. I'm trying to hit 100,000 subscribers, so your subscription would be greatly appreciated. But without further ado, let's get started with this video, and let's kick things off with the Minnesota Timberwolf himself, Karl-Anthony Towns. I still remember the days where when Karl-Anthony Towns came in the league and had an amazing rookie season, people thought he was destined to become the best player in the NBA, so much so that I remember when they did a poll and asked all the GMs and coaches who you would build your team around. Out of all the players in the league, Karl-Anthony Towns finished with more votes than Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and obviously Giannis Antetokounmpo, who wasn't even a superstar at that time. It really is crazy to think about in hindsight, because sure, Karl-Anthony Towns is not the best player, nor is he even a top 10 player right now, but I think that just more so shows the potential that he's had since day one in the NBA. Because when you look at Karl-Anthony Towns as a player, there really isn't anything that he can't do offensively. His post game is relatively solid with decent footwork. He has the ability to fade away and knock down hook shots consistently. He isn't the best against physicality, I will admit that, so I won't say he has like some elite post game. I leave that for the guys like Embiid and Jokic, but nonetheless, that does not mean that his post game is garbage. It just means that it's not at an elite level. Then outside of his ability from the post, he's a really good playmaker. He can play make out of the post, at the top of the key, out of double teams. He can do high post action, two-man game, whatever you want from him as a playmaking big, he can really do it all. Obviously, I'm not saying he's Nikola Jokic or anything, but he's a really good playmaker that doesn't get enough credit for his passing ability, because you look at a guy like Nikola Jokic and he's really just made every other passing big kind of obsolete, and Cat is included obviously. But nonetheless, Karl-Anthony Towns is a really good passer, and I would say his playmaking is the most underrated aspect of his game. But when you look at the rest of his offensive package, the guy also has the ability to somewhat put the ball on the floor, and that contributes to his shooting. Because if you don't know this, then you just must not be paying attention, but Karl-Anthony Towns is arguably already the best shooting big in NBA history. Because over the last couple of years, Karl-Anthony Towns has been taking the volume of three-point shooting that some guards do, while shooting well over 40% in a good portion of his seasons, as over the last 3 years, Karl-Anthony Towns has attempted nearly 6 threes a game and shot roughly 40% from behind the arc. And if you watch the tape, it is mostly spot ups, but he is capable also of creating his own shot on the perimeter as well. Combine that with the fact that he can put the ball on the floor somewhat, knock down mid-range jumpers, play make out of the post, and you have one of the most skilled offensive players in this league today. Not only bigs, but players in general. I mean, think about it, for a big in today's league, there really isn't anything that Karl-Anthony Towns can't do. It's just a shame that he's been on a Minnesota Timberwolves team, and granted, he has been injured and missed a lot of games over the last couple of seasons, but the Timberwolves franchise is a disgrace to basketball, so it's no surprise to me that Karl-Anthony Towns doesn't get recognized for how great of a player he actually is. But nonetheless, despite the praise that I heaped upon him about his offensive ability, he does have some weaknesses in his game, primarily on the defensive side of the ball. Though I don't feed into the narrative that Karl-Anthony Towns is a defensive liability, he's really improved as a rim protector, especially over the last couple of seasons. But on the ball, he isn't that great, especially in switches situations. He isn't great in the pick and roll like that. He isn't the best help defender. Even though he's improved in those aspects, I would say he isn't that great at them. And in addition to his defense, Karl-Anthony Towns, at least over the last 2 seasons, hasn't always been available, only playing 35 games 2 years ago, and just this past year only being available for 50 of them. I'm not saying that Karl-Anthony Towns is like Blake Griffin or Zion Williamson there, but I do think injuries or just availability as a whole is something that's becoming a little bit concerning for me, though I wouldn't say he's like some injury prone or just not available type of player, because Karl-Anthony Towns over the first couple of years of his career was one of the most durable players in the league. So I don't want to believe that now he's just straight up lacking availability and he's going to be injury prone for the rest of his career, but it's something to look out for, because over the last 2 seasons, which is recent history we gotta go by, he hasn't always been available. But nonetheless, as a player, Karl-Anthony Towns is one of the best that we have to offer in this league. His offensive talent is on par with some of the best bigs that we've ever seen, which not only makes him one of the top 20 to 25 players in this league, but it also makes him one of the top 5 centers in the NBA. I love Bam Adebayo. That is one of my favorite players to watch in this league, and just one of my favorite players overall. For starters, he went to Kentucky, and I know a lot of you guys like to make fun of me when I mention this, but I am a Kentucky fan, so I root for all of my Kentucky boys. That's why I still got some love for Tyler Hero there. But as far as Bam Adebayo is concerned, I gotta have love for him just for that alone. Combine that with the fact that he's Nigerian just like me, we family. You know what I'm saying? So I gotta root for my nigga Bam. But as it pertains to his play, let's just get it out the way. His defense, that has to be the strongest part of his game. The guy is literally a terror on that side of the ball, considering that he's one of the few guys that I can actually say can guard positions 1 through 5. He has the lateral quickness to keep up with wings and guards on the perimeter, and can do it at a borderline elite level, and he also has the strength to keep up with some bigs in the post. You could really say Bam Adebayo is the most important defender in this league, and sure, I'm not saying you'd win that argument, but he is definitely in the conversation when you consider how valuable he is to the Miami Heat's defense. I mean, the guy can literally do it all on the defensive side of the ball, whether it's on-ball defense, off-ball defense, help, rotation, switches, pick and roll. He can do everything that you want from a great defender, or an elite defender I should say in his case. But aside from just what he does defensively, offensively, he's no slouch. He may have his holes here or there that we're gonna get to later, but as far as what he does well, he is an amazing lob threat and fits with any playmaker. Like honestly, he's great in the pick and roll, and as a lob threat, put him at the dunker spot. If you have just a decent playmaker, they will be able to find him. In addition to his ability as a lob catcher, he's also an amazing ball handler for a player at his position. I'm not saying he's Kevin Durant, I'm not saying he's Giannis, but he can put the ball on the floor, and it leads him to be able to playmake for his teammates as well. Now I will admit his playmaking is somewhat overrated, as he does have good shooters on that roster, primarily Duncan Robinson. They had Goran Dragic the last couple of years, combined with Tyler Hero. They have their shooters that they do those little handoffs with, and you know, the whole pin downs. I get that. His playmaking is somewhat overrated. They do a lot of those pin downs and shit, so I can understand all of those arguments, but he's still a really good passer, especially for somebody at his position. And combine that with the fact that he has somewhat grown a mid-range jumper over the last season, in which he shot over 40% from the mid-range, I have to say the sky is the limit for as great as Bam Adebayo can become. But as far as the weakness in his game, it's pretty glaring, and that's that he's not that great of a shot creator. He isn't effective in the post like that. He's not someone you're gonna feed and give him post touches consistently. He's not too much of a floor spacer, even though he's improved his mid-range game. Against the Milwaukee Bucks, they were leaving him open, and he shot below 40% from the mid-range, so that's something you have to consider. And he's not that great of a three-point shooter, nor does he attempt them for obvious reasons. So when you look at Bam Adebayo on the whole, he's a great defensive player with offensive capabilities, but he clearly needs a playmaker next to him to really maximize what he can do on the offensive side of the ball. But now that we have addressed both players' strengths and weaknesses, let's now talk about who is indeed the better player. Now, when I do these things, I always like to preference my comments by saying just because one is better than the other, that does not make the other player trash. And I think that most people will agree, because these are two players that are not top 10 players, and I would even go as far as to say neither of them are even top 15 players in the league. So let's just get that out of the way. Now, as far as who I believe is the better player, I personally believe it's Karl-Anthony Towns, and I don't think it's that close. Now, it's no disrespect to Bam Adebayo. He is a terrific player in his own right, and his defense is all world. But offensively, he has clear holes to where I have to put him with the legitimate playmaker in order to maximize what he can do on that end of the ball. And even if you want to say that he's better than Karl-Anthony Towns on the defensive side, the gap between them defensively versus the gap offensively, I believe the gap offensively is more than the gap defensively. And if we're just being honest, let's be real here. Karl-Anthony Towns is just better. Like, no disrespect, but when you watch them both play, look at what Bam does defensively, I get that, but then go watch what Cat does offensively and how he impacts that Minnesota Timberwolves team. This is a guy that when he was on the court last year for the Timberwolves, they had an offensive rating of just short of 117. When he was off the court, they had an offensive rating of 105. That is a 12-point decline with him off the court. That just shows how valuable he is to that offense of the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Minnesota Timberwolves. So yeah, as far as who's the better player, give me Karl-Anthony Towns. But that's just my opinion. If you disagree, let me know down below in the comment section. And if you enjoyed this video, feel free to drop a like and also subscribe to the channel if you're new. Press that bell for post notifications and follow me on social media. The links are down below in the description box. This is your boy Young Mustard signing out. Y'all stay safe and have a blessed day. Peace.